In the city of Chicago, behind the golden gates of a billionaire's mansion, a secret was hidden. A 70-year-old mother prayed day and night for her son's happiness. She wanted nothing but peace for him. But in the house meant to be her refuge, she became a slave. Her daughter-in-law, the woman her son loved, carried a wound from the past, a fear so deep, it turned her heart into stone. And one day, that fear turned to cruelty, a slap, a shove, a scream, until the day her son, the billionaire, walked in and caught his wife beating his mother like an animal. What he did next will break your heart. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, like and share this video to your family and friends. I truly appreciate your kind heart. So, let's continue. Inside a small 2-bedroom apartment on the south side, a silence weighed heavy. Clara sat hunched on a worn-out couch, her eyes swollen, her lips trembling. Her hands clutched a handbag that seemed too light, holding nothing but the fragments of her broken marriage. Lisa, her younger sister, stood by the window, staring at her in disbelief. "Clara," she whispered, "you mean you left everything? The house, the car, even the furniture you bought?" Clara shook her head slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "What house, Lisa? What home? That place was no home. It was a battlefield. I couldn't breathe anymore." Their father, a retired mechanic with graying hair, sat quietly in a corner, his heart heavy, but his face composed. Their mother, a prayerful woman whose voice always carried both authority and tenderness, clasped her hands tightly, whispering words to God under her breath. The story spilled out like bitter water. Clara had once married a man she believed was her dream. Handsome, wealthy, and promising her a life of comfort, he swept her off her feet. But no sooner had she entered his house than she discovered another ruler, his mother. The woman never called her by name, only by titles like stranger or intruder. Every meal Clara cooked was criticized. If she made jollof rice, it was too salty. If she served pasta, it was too tasteless. Clothes she washed were rewashed, her steps in the kitchen shadowed, her authority in the house erased. Even worse, her husband rarely defended her. Instead, he said, "Just be patient, Clara. She is my mother. She will come around." But patience turned into chains. Years slipped by in silent tears until Clara broke. One morning, she packed what little she could carry and returned to her parents' apartment, her dignity in tatters. Lisa never forgot that night. She sat by Clara's bed, holding her hand, listening to her sob in the dark. And with each sob, Lisa carved an oath into her heart. "Never me, never my life. I will not be destroyed by any mother-in-law." From that day, her path was set. Lisa was beautiful and ambitious, studying business management while working part-time in a boutique downtown. Men noticed her everywhere, at the bus stop, at school, at the boutique. Suitors came with flowers, dinners, and sweet words. But Lisa's filter was sharp, her first question always the same. "Is your mother alive?" If the answer was yes, her smile dimmed instantly. She would cut the relationship before it had the chance to grow roots. Some men tried to argue. Some swore their mothers were kind, harmless, even angelic. Lisa's answer was always firm. "I'm sorry, I can't." Friends mocked her. "You'll never find a husband with that kind of rule," they teased. But Lisa's vow was stronger than mockery. She saw herself not as picky, but as wise. "Better alone than miserable," she told herself. And so the years passed. She dated, but every relationship ended quickly once the truth about the man's mother came out. Her heart grew guarded, her standards fierce. To the world she looked stubborn. But inside, she was just a little girl terrified of ending up like Clara. Then one chilly evening in downtown Chicago, fate walked into her life disguised as a man named Williams. The cafe on Michigan Avenue was crowded, the hum of conversations mixing with the hiss of steaming machines. Lisa had just finished her shift and wanted a quiet place to warm her hands around a cup of tea. She spotted an empty seat near the window and rushed toward it, only to collide with another figure reaching for the same spot. Their eyes met, hers sharp and cautious, his tired yet kind. "I'm so sorry," William said quickly, his deep voice carrying an odd gentleness. Lisa smiled faintly. "No, it's fine. Please, go ahead." But he shook his head. "Ladies first." She sat, and he, noticing the lack of space, sat across from her. What began as small talk soon unfolded into laughter, into stories, into an evening that neither wanted to end. Williams was different. He was calm, respectful, and spoke with the humility of a man who had carried burdens quietly. He told her he was building a real estate business, working day and night to create something lasting. When Lisa asked about his family, a shadow crossed his face. "Family?" he echoed softly. "I don't have anyone left." The words wrapped around Lisa like a warm blanket. For the first time she felt safe. Here was a man with no mother waiting in the shadows, no matriarch ready to destroy her peace. She let her guard down, cautiously at first, then completely. Their love grew quickly. Williams took her on long walks by Navy Pier, bought her flowers that smelled of spring, and listened to her dreams as though they were treasures. He never raised his voice, never mocked her fears, never made her feel less. For the first time, Lisa believed love could be sweet. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine marriage without fear. When Williams proposed, it was simple, yet profound. They stood by the Chicago River, lights reflecting like stars on the water, and he knelt with a ring that glittered more from his sincerity than its cost. Lisa said yes. She called Clara that night, her voice trembling with joy. "I found him, Clara. He has no family. He's the one." Clara laughed through the phone, half relieved, half doubtful. "If you're happy, then I'm happy," she said. But somewhere in the city, in a quiet apartment, an old woman sat alone, whispering her son's name in prayer. Her silver hair framed a face worn by years, but her heart still beat with love for the child she had not seen in 10 long years. That woman was Mama Grace, and though Lisa did not know it yet. Chicago buzzed with life as summer melted into fall, but for Lisa and Williams, the world had slowed to a sacred pause. Their wedding had been small but beautiful, an intimate gathering by the river, city lights dancing like candles, friends and family watching them exchange vows with eyes full of hope. Lisa walked down the aisle in a gown that shimmered like morning dew, her face radiant though her heart still carried a whisper of doubt. But each time she looked at Williams, steady and kind, the doubt softened. Clara's approving smile in the front row anchored her courage. "You may kiss the bride," the pastor declared. The applause rose like thunder. Lisa leaned into her new husband's embrace, her lips trembling as if sealing not just a marriage, but a prayer answered. For months afterward, their home on the north side was filled with laughter. They decorated their apartment together, Williams insisting on practicality, Lisa insisting on elegance. They cooked together, danced in the living room to old soul music, and dreamed about the future. It was a honeymoon phase, yes, but it was real. Lisa felt safe in her husband's arms. Her old fears seemed to fade like shadows at sunrise. She believed, truly believed, she had escaped the curse that had destroyed Clara's life. Then came Desmond. The news of her pregnancy was met with tears of joy. Williams carried her around the house like fragile glass, refusing to let her lift a finger. At night, he whispered to her belly, talking to the child as though he could already hear. When Desmond was born, a healthy baby boy with his father's eyes and his mother's stubborn frown, the hospital room filled with a joy neither of them had ever known. Lisa wept as she held him, overwhelmed by a love so fierce it frightened her. Williams kissed her forehead, whispering, Thank you for making me the happiest man alive." For weeks, their home echoed with the cries of a newborn and the laughter of proud parents. Visitors came bearing gifts, neighbors brought casseroles, and Lisa felt herself stepping into a dream she had once thought impossible. But behind Williams's joy was a quiet stirring of guilt. Every time he cradled Desmond, he thought of his own childhood, of the hands that had once cradled him, the lips that had sung him lullabies. He thought of the woman who had raised him single-handedly after his father's death, sacrificing everything for his future. Mama Grace. For 10 years, they had been estranged. Pride had built a wall between them after bitter arguments about his choices. He had left home determined to prove himself, vowing never to look back. But now, with Lisa by his side and Desmond in his arms, his heart ached. How could he rejoice in fatherhood while denying the woman who had given him life? One evening, as Lisa nursed Desmond, William sat beside her, his face unusually solemn. "Lisa," he began, "there's something I need to tell you." She looked up, concerned. "What is it?" I want to see my mother again. I want her to meet our son." The words fell like ice. Lisa froze, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. "Your mother?" she whispered. "Yes," William said gently. "I told you I didn't have family, but the truth is, I do. My mother is alive. We've been apart for years, but I can't keep her out of my life any longer." Lisa's eyes widened, her stomach twisting with dread. "Williams, you told me you had no one. You swore you were alone." "I thought I was," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought I had buried that chapter. But Lisa, she's my mother. She deserves to know her grandson. She deserves peace before—" He stopped, unable to finish. Lisa turned away. Desmond clutched tightly to her chest. Memories of Clara flashed before her eyes. The humiliation, the tears, the destruction. She felt betrayed, cornered, unsafe. "No," she whispered fiercely. "Williams, you don't understand. I can't live that life. I can't have a mother-in-law. You know what Clara went through. You promised me—" "I never promised you that," Williams interrupted, his tone still calm but firm. "I promised you love. And love means truth. Lisa, my mother is part of me. I can't erase her. Not anymore." The room went silent except for Desmond's soft whimpers. Lisa's tears slid silently down her face. For the first time since their marriage, a crack had appeared in their perfect picture. A week later, Williams found his mother. He traveled to the west side of Chicago, to a modest apartment where Mama Grace lived alone. She was thinner now, her once strong frame weakened by age, her hair fully white. But her eyes, oh, her eyes still held the warmth of 1,000 prayers. When she saw her son standing at her door, she gasped, covering her mouth with trembling hands. "Williams," she whispered, as though speaking to a ghost. He broke down in tears, falling to his knees. "Mama, forgive me. Forgive your stubborn son." She gathered him into her frail arms, her tears soaking his shirt. "I prayed for this day. I knew God would bring you back to me." The reconciliation was tender, but short-lived. Mama Grace was ill. Years of neglecting her health had caught up with her. Her body ached, her breathing was heavy, and doctors spoke of rest and care that she could not afford. Without hesitation, Williams brought her into his home. Lisa watched in silence as Mama Grace entered their apartment for the first time. The old woman's eyes lit up when she saw Desmond. She reached out her wrinkled hands, whispering, "My grandson, my answered prayer." Desmond cooed in her arms, as if sensing her love. But Lisa's heart did not soften. It hardened. She forced a smile in front of Williams, but inside, her fears screamed. Every gesture from Mama Grace, every word, every prayer, felt like an omen. She saw her sister's suffering replaying in her mind like a curse she could not escape. From that day, peace became a fragile illusion in their home. Mama Grace, weak but cheerful, tried to blend in quietly. She cooked when she could, cleaned when her body allowed, and prayed constantly for her son and his young family. She never demanded, never raised her voice. But to Lisa, her very presence was a threat. The shield around Lisa's heart grew sharper. Her smiles became colder, her kindness strained. She told herself she was only protecting her territory, her marriage, her son. Lisa walked through the wide hallway one evening, her heels clicking against the marble. She stopped when she heard soft laughter coming from the living room. Peeking in, she froze. Desmond, now a year old, was on the carpet, clapping his tiny hands as Mama Grace sang to him in her frail but warm voice. The old woman's face glowed with joy, her wrinkles deepening as she laughed. Desmond squealed with delight, reaching for her scarf and pulling it playfully. Lisa's chest tightened. Her son's laughter, so pure, so innocent, pierced her heart, but instead of softening her, it filled her with unease. He loves her too much, Lisa thought bitterly. He's mine, not hers. Desmond, she called sharply, stepping into the room. Come to Mommy. The boy turned his head, but hesitated, still clutching Mama Grace's scarf. For a brief moment, Lisa felt invisible. Her own child had chosen someone else. Mama, Lisa said flatly, forcing a smile. You should rest. You know the doctor warned you not to overexert yourself. Mama Grace looked up, her expression gentle. Ah, Lisa. Don't worry. Playing with a child is no burden. This little one gives me strength. She kissed Desmond's forehead. He is the reason I wake up smiling. Lisa's jaw tightened. Without another word, she bent down, scooped Desmond into her arms, and walked out, leaving an awkward silence behind. That night, as Williams prepared for bed, Lisa sat at the dresser, brushing her hair with quick, angry strokes. Williams, she said suddenly, don't you think your mother is getting too attached to Desmond? He looked up from his laptop, confused. Too attached? Lisa, she's his grandmother. What do you expect? She adores him. That's exactly my point, Lisa snapped. She's acting like she's his mother, always holding him, singing to him, feeding him. Sometimes even when I've already prepared his food, it's not right. Williams frowned, closing his laptop. Lisa, she's not trying to replace you. She's just being a grandmother. Can't you see how happy it makes her? She's been alone for years. Let her have this joy. Lisa slammed the brush down, her voice rising. You don't understand. You didn't see Clara's life. You didn't watch her cry every night because her mother-in-law made her a stranger in her own home. I will not let that happen to me. Williams sighed deeply, walking over to her. Lisa, my mother is not that kind of woman. She has never mistreated you. She prays for you every morning. She tells me you're the best gift God has given her. Why are you fighting shadows? But Lisa turned her face away, silent. Weeks turned into months, and the cracks in their home widened. Mama Grace remained gentle, never once raising her voice. She woke early to pray, her whispering voice floating through the halls like incense. Sometimes Lisa would wake to find her kneeling by the door of their bedroom, praying blessings over their marriage. But to Lisa, those prayers sounded like curses. She would shut the door harder, her heart burning with suspicion. In the kitchen, Mama Grace offered to help. Let me cook tonight, Lisa. You've been busy with Desmond. Lisa forced a smile. No, Mama, I'll do it. You should rest. But once Mama Grace stepped away, Lisa would mutter under her breath, Trying to show you're better than me, aren't you? At dinner, Williams often complimented his mother's cooking when she managed to prepare a meal. Mama's stew reminds me of childhood, he would say, smiling. Lisa's spoon would clatter loudly against her plate. She would eat in silence, resentment thick in her throat. The servants noticed. They whispered in corners, their eyes darting between the old woman who moved quietly with grace and the young madam whose smiles never reached her eyes. But Williams, caught up in the whirlwind of his booming business, was blind. His real estate empire was expanding across Chicago, demanding his time and energy. He often returned home late, exhausted, unaware of the storm brewing in his absence. One afternoon, Lisa walked into the living room to find Mama Grace humming as she folded baby clothes. The sight ignited something inside her. "Why are you touching my son's clothes?" Lisa demanded. Mama Grace looked up, startled. "Ah, Lisa, forgive me. I saw them in the laundry basket and thought I should help." "I don't need your help," Lisa cut in coldly. "I can manage my own household." The old woman lowered her eyes. "I meant no harm." But Lisa's heart did not soften. In her mind, every act of kindness was an intrusion, every gesture a reminder of Clara's suffering. That evening, she called Clara on the phone. "Sis, it's happening," Lisa whispered, her voice shaking. "I see it. She's trying to take over, just like yours did." But Clara's voice was weary. "Lisa, listen to me. Don't fight shadows. Williams's mother is not my ex's mother. Don't push your fears on her. Don't make the same mistake I did, holding back my voice until it was too late. Talk to your husband with patience, not anger." Lisa hung up, unconvinced. The breaking point came one Saturday afternoon. Williams was away at a business meeting downtown. Lisa was upstairs, resting, when she heard laughter from the backyard. She rushed to the window and saw Mama Grace pushing Desmond gently on a small swing set. The boy's laughter rang out, high and sweet, as he kicked his legs in delight. "Higher, Grandma, higher!" Desmond squealed. Something inside Lisa snapped. By the time she reached the yard, her face was a storm. "What do you think you're doing?" she hissed, snatching Desmond from the swing. Mama Grace blinked in surprise. "He wanted to play, Lisa. I was only—" "You were only what? Trying to make him love you more than me? Trying to make yourself the mother?" The old woman's face fell, pain flashing in her eyes. "Lisa, I would never—" "Save your lies," Lisa spat. "I see what you're doing, but hear me, Mama. You will never take my place in my own son's life." Desmond, sensing the tension, began to cry. Lisa stormed back inside, leaving Mama Grace standing alone in the yard, her frail hands trembling, her eyes glistening with tears. That night, Mama Grace prayed longer than usual. Her whispers carried both sorrow and hope. "Lord, soften her heart. Don't let bitterness consume her. Protect my grandson. Keep this family together." But her prayers went unheard by Lisa. Instead, Lisa lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying every smile, every laugh, every prayer of Mama Grace as a threat. She did not see the love. She saw only the shadow of Clara's past. And so the mansion grew colder. The servants walked on tiptoe, afraid of the tension that lingered like smoke. Williams, oblivious, continued to chase deals and sign contracts, believing his family was safe. But the day was coming when his eyes would be opened. And when that day came, the truth would break his heart beyond repair. The first slap was not seen by anyone. It happened on a quiet afternoon when Williams was at his downtown office, and the servants had been dismissed for the day. Mama Grace had offered to watch Desmond while Lisa rested, but when Lisa came downstairs and found the boy with crumbs on his shirt, she exploded. "Didn't I tell you he shouldn't eat sweets before dinner?" she snapped. Mama Grace bowed her head, her voice soft. "Forgive me, Lisa. He found the cookie jar, and I thought one wouldn't hurt." Before she could finish, Lisa's palm struck her cheek. The sound cracked through the air like a whip. The old woman staggered, clutching her face, her eyes wide with shock. "Don't you ever disobey me in my own house again," Lisa hissed, her chest heaving. Desmond stood frozen, his little eyes wide, his lips trembling. He didn't understand, but the sight of his grandmother's tears unsettled him deeply. Mama Grace didn't tell Williams. She told no one. Instead, She prayed harder, believing her silence was the price of keeping the peace. But silence gave Lisa confidence. The slaps turned into shoves. The shoves turned into insults. The insults turned into orders barked like commands to a servant. Wash those clothes again. They smell of dust. You're too slow. Hurry up. Stay away from Desmond. He doesn't need your village prayers. The mansion became a cage. Mama Grace moved like a shadow, careful not to provoke her daughter-in-law, careful not to let her son notice the bruises she covered with long sleeves and scarves. At night, while William slept peacefully beside Lisa, Mama Grace would weep silently into her pillow. She had endured hardship all her life, but nothing hurt more than being despised by the woman her son loved. Yet she never complained, not once. But children see what adults try to hide. One evening, Desmond toddled into the kitchen where Mama Grace was peeling potatoes. He looked up at her, his innocent eyes full of concern. "Grandma," he whispered, touching the faint bruise near her temple. "Did Mommy do that?" Tears welled in Mama Grace's eyes, but she shook her head quickly. "No, my dear. Mommy loves us both very much. This is nothing." But Desmond's silence told her he did not believe. The storm finally broke on a Thursday evening. Williams had returned home earlier than expected, his meeting downtown canceled. He parked his car quietly, walking into the mansion with a smile. He wanted to surprise Lisa and Desmond. Perhaps they could have dinner together, laugh, and share stories as a family. But as he reached the hallway, he froze. From the living room came the sound of raised voices. Lisa's voice, sharp and furious. Then another sound, one that made his blood run cold. The sound of flesh striking flesh. He hurried forward, his heart pounding. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. Mama Grace was on the floor, her frail body bent in pain. Lisa stood over her, her hand raised again, her face twisted with anger. "How many times have I told you to stay away from my son?" Lisa screamed. "You think you can control him like you controlled Williams? Not in my house. Not while I'm alive." She brought her hand down again, striking the old woman's shoulder. "Lisa!" Williams roared, his voice echoing through the mansion. Lisa froze, her hand suspended in the air. She turned slowly, her eyes wide with horror, as she saw her husband standing at the doorway, his face pale, his jaw trembling. "Mama," Williams whispered, rushing forward. He knelt beside his mother, lifting her gently into his arms. Her body shook with sobs, her breath ragged. "Son," she whispered weakly, "it's nothing. Don't be angry. Please, don't be angry." But Williams was trembling, his tears falling freely. He looked up at Lisa, his voice breaking. You hit my mother?" Lisa's lips quivered. "Williams, listen to me. You hit my mother?" His voice cracked, louder this time, echoing off the walls. Lisa's chest rose and fell, panic spreading across her face. "You don't understand. She was trying to take Desmond from me, just like Clara's." "Stop!" Williams thundered, his eyes blazing with pain. "Stop hiding behind your sister's story. My mother has never done you harm. She prayed for you. She served you. She loved you as her own. And you treated her like an animal." The room went silent, except for Mama Grace's sobs. Lisa fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "I was only protecting myself. I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" Williams shouted, his voice raw. "Afraid of love? Afraid of kindness? You've broken my heart, Lisa. You've broken this home." He helped his mother to her feet, holding her as though she were the most fragile treasure in the world. For the first time, Lisa saw him not as her husband, not as Desmond's father, but as a son whose soul was shattered. That night, Williams did not sleep in their bed. He stayed by his mother's side, tending to her wounds, whispering apologies over and over. Lisa sat alone in their room, her tears soaking the pillow. She had thought she was protecting herself, protecting her marriage, protecting her son. But now, all she saw was destruction. Down the hall, Desmond woke from a nightmare. He ran into his grandmother's room, climbing onto the bed beside her. He wrapped his tiny arms around her neck and whispered, "I'll protect you, Grandma." Mama Grace held him close, her tears soaking his hair. Williams watched them, his heart aching. He realized then that the woman who had given him life, who had carried him through hardship, was spending her final years suffering in the very home meant to be her refuge. And his wife, the woman he thought was his safe haven, was the cause of it. He buried his face in his hands, his body shaking with silent sobs. The mansion was no longer a home. It was a battlefield. And in that battlefield, love had been betrayed. The mansion in Chicago had grown cold. Since the night Williams caught Lisa striking his mother, silence had wrapped itself around every corner of the house. The laughter of little Desmond, once the heartbeat of the home, now sounded strained, as though even he could feel the weight pressing down on the family. Mama Grace had grown weaker. Her once strong hands that had raised a son alone now trembled when she lifted a spoon. Her voice, once full of wisdom and prayer, had softened into whispers that carried more pain than words. Every time Williams looked at her, his chest tightened. He was haunted by the thought that if he had listened earlier, if he had looked closer, he might have protected her from the cruelty she endured under his own roof. Lisa moved like a ghost in her own home. She tried to reach out to Williams, but he withdrew, his love for her buried beneath layers of hurt and betrayal. She tried to speak to Mama Grace, but the old woman, though never unkind, no longer met her eyes. The shame ate at Lisa. At night she wept into her pillow, begging God for forgiveness. But every morning she awoke to the same emptiness. Then came the day when everything broke. It was a quiet Sunday morning. Desmond had just finished breakfast when he rushed into the living room, his small voice full of alarm. "Daddy, Grandma is not waking up." Williams and Lisa ran to Mama Grace's room. She was lying on the bed, her breathing shallow, her skin pale. Her frail body looked even smaller against the sheets. Williams dropped to his knees beside her, clutching her hand. "Mama, please, stay with me, please." Her eyes fluttered open, and a faint smile touched her lips. "My son, don't cry. I have finished my race." "No!" Williams choked out, tears spilling down his face. "You can't leave me, Mama, not yet. Please, fight!" Lisa stood frozen by the door, her hands trembling. She wanted to speak, to kneel, to beg for forgiveness, but the weight of her guilt pinned her to the floor. Mama Grace turned her gaze toward her. Even in her weakness, her eyes carried a gentleness that broke Lisa's heart. "Lisa." Her voice was faint but clear. "Take care of my son and Desmond. Love them. Don't let fear destroy you." Lisa's knees buckled and she collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. "Mama, please forgive me. Please. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was only afraid. Please don't leave me like this." But Mama Grace's eyes were already closing. With her last breath, she whispered a prayer. "Lord, keep my family." And then, she was gone. The mansion erupted in grief. Williams clung to his mother's body, his wails echoing through the halls. Desmond cried too, though he did not fully understand what death meant. He only knew his beloved grandmother would never hold him again. Lisa wept until her voice broke. Her heart pounded with guilt so heavy she could hardly breathe. She had feared becoming a victim, but instead, she had become the villain. And now the woman who might have forgiven her was gone forever. The funeral was held in Mama Grace's village outside Chicago. Relatives flew in from different states to honor the woman who had lived humbly but touched many lives with her kindness. Williams spared no expense. Golden caskets, choirs singing hymns, flowers adorning every corner. But none of it could fill the void left in his heart. Lisa stood apart, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying. She could feel the judgment in the whispers of relatives, the stares that cut into her soul. They did not know the full truth, but she did. And that truth was heavier than any gossip. At the graveside, as the coffin was lowered into the earth, Lisa broke down completely. She threw herself to the ground, clawing at the soil. "Mama, please come back. Please forgive me. I didn't know what I was doing. I was blind with fear. Please don't hate me from the other side." The mourners wept, but some shook their heads. It was too late. Williams did not look at her. His eyes remained fixed on the grave, his body stiff with grief. After the funeral, the house in Chicago became unbearable. Williams wandered through it like a lost man, carrying the weight of regret. Lisa tried to care for him and Desmond, but he kept her at a distance. One evening, a close family pastor came to visit. He was an elderly man who had known Mama Grace from the days she prayed in a small Chicago church. He sat with Williams, his voice calm but heavy with meaning. "Your mother's spirit is not at peace." Williams frowned. "What do you mean?" "She carried wounds into the grave," the pastor said softly. "Not from the world, but from within her own home. Until forgiveness is sought, your family will not know peace." Lisa's body trembled. She clasped her hands together, whispering, "What must I do?" The pastor looked at her. "You must go to the village grave, you and Williams together. You must kneel where she rests, confess your sins, and beg her spirit to forgive you. Only then will the chains of guilt and sorrow begin to break." Williams sat in silence, his face unreadable. Lisa fell to her knees before him. "Please, Williams, let us go. I cannot live like this. I see her in my dreams every night. She doesn't speak, she just looks at me with tears in her eyes. Please, I need her forgiveness." Williams looked at her, his eyes filled with pain. "Do you know what you did, Lisa? You broke me. You broke the very woman who raised me. I don't know if I can ever love you the same again. But for my mother's sake, we will go." A week later, they traveled back to the village grave. The sun was setting when they arrived, casting a golden glow over the earth where Mama Grace lay. The pastor stood with them, praying softly. Williams knelt first, his tears falling onto the soil. "Mama, forgive me for not protecting you. Forgive me for being blind. I failed you as a son. Please, rest in peace." Then Lisa knelt, her body shaking with sobs. She placed her hands on the soil, her voice breaking. "Mama Grace, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I hurt you. I let fear turn me into a monster. I should have loved you, but I failed. Please, if your spirit can hear me, forgive me. Don't curse me. Don't curse my son. I will spend the rest of my life honoring you. Please, forgive me." The wind stirred through the trees, gentle and calm, as though nature itself had heard. For the first time since Mama Grace's death, the heaviness in the air seemed to lift. Williams closed his eyes, whispering, "Rest now, Mama. Rest." As they walked back from the grave, Lisa held Desmond's hand tightly. Her heart was still heavy, but for the first time she felt a flicker of hope, that perhaps Mama Grace's spirit had heard, that perhaps forgiveness was possible. But one thing was certain. She would never escape the memory of the day Williams caught her, and Williams would never forget the sight of his mother weeping beneath his wife's hand. Some wounds heal with time, but others leave scars that no riches can erase. In the golden mansion of Chicago, love was tested, and fear destroyed what prayer had tried to protect. Mama Grace closed her eyes with forgiveness on her lips, but her spirit reminded us all, respect is not weakness, and cruelty has a price. In the end, it wasn't wealth that mattered. It was the simple truth. A mother's love is a treasure that must never be taken for granted. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Share it, comment your thoughts, and let this lesson live on. Because somewhere tonight, another mother is praying, not to be broken by the ones she loves. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching. Please support me by subscribing to my channel. And don't forget to like and share this video. It means the world to me. Take care of yourself and never forget how much you're loved. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Sending you all my love.